go.
I'd like to call the regular meeting for the Village of Tinley Park Planning Commission to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jason, please take a roll call.
Commissioner Gaskell.
Present.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Manny. Commissioner Merrick. Commissioner Sepisi.
Here.
Commissioner Truxell.
Here.
Commissioner West. Commissioner Gray. Acting Chair Gatto.
Present.
And we have a quorum.
Just.
Staff, are there any communications?
Just that Chairman Gray couldn't make it tonight, so Commissioner Gatto has taken the place to be the acting chair to run the meeting.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 17th, 2023 meeting?
Moved.
Second.
Heard Commissioner Sepisi
Yep.
and second by Commissioner Truxell. All those in favor of approving the August 17th, 2023 meeting say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Item number 1. The first item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing to consider recommending the village board grant Hassan Abdullah of Family Dental Care a special use for a residence located above or to the rear of the principal use within the B3 General Business and Commercial Zoning District variation approval to reduce the parking lot, driveway aisle widths. The petitioner is proposing to construct a multi-use addition above the existing structure for ground-level office space and 2 second-story apartments. Site plan and architectural approval is also being considered at the meeting. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
First by Commissioner Truxell, seconded by Commissioner Gaskell. I will ask for a voice vote. All those in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Before we proceed, I would like to make a note that I have received certification of the public notice as being published in the local newspaper required by state law. Also, anyone wishing to speak on this matter will be sworn in before they speak, but after the staff's presentation. Staff, if you could please proceed with your presentation at this time.
Sure. So the petitioner for this project is seeking a special use to allow apartments above a non-residential use. They are seeking variations related to the driveway or drive aisle width for the parking lot, as well as signage locations. They're seeking site plan and architectural approval and a plat of easement approval. So the project is located on 159th near 80th Avenue, 7895 159th Street. It's zoned B3. There's R6 high density, medium density residential to the south. Orland Park's business zoning is across the street. That's similar to RB3 zoning. And it's surrounded primarily by commercial strip centers with restaurants with a condo complex immediately to the south. And there's a handful of neighborhood amenities within walking distance, like pharmacy, bars, restaurants, things like that. Here's an aerial and a map of the surrounding zoning. So for the site plan, you can see on the bottom of the screen, the subject site shares a shared driveway with the shopping center immediately to the west. This is the shopping center where Rocco's restaurant is located. Yeah, there's currently parking in the front and in the very south end of the subject site. And the proposed addition is at the center of the site with additional parking behind that. Their landscaping plans, some highlights. They're proposing adding a new parkway tree. They're proposing retaining several existing trees and adding canopy trees to 2 parking lot islands. The site is deficient in landscaping, but that is due to site constraints primarily. These are some renderings of the west side of the building. The building is proposed to be, the existing building is proposed to be reclad and have a roof replacement to match the addition. So the addition and the existing building will have a consistent look. Here's the elevation drawings. The apartments are proposed as two two-bedroom units. They do both have balconies that face west. Pedestrian and building access. The existing dentist office door is on the north side of the street, or north side of the building, rather. The new office addition door is going to be on the west side of the building, of the addition building, facing a parking lot. And then the apartment door to the apartments, excuse me, is going to be located on the east side of the building. So you'll kind of have to walk around from the parking lot to get to the apartment door. They're seeking a variation for sign location. There's an existing sign on site that needs to be brought into compliance with the zoning ordinance. The variance allows them to replace the sign in its existing location, which is less than 10 feet from both property lines. The other signage, which they don't have proposed currently, will comply with the zoning ordinance. The other request is for the drive aisle width reduction. So the parking lot in the rear is proposed to have two 24-foot drive aisles, and that's to maximize the amount of parking available. And then the front parking lot existing has a 25-foot drive aisle. They're proposing to, there's a shared driveway with Rocco's to the south, or to the west. And they're proposing a shared access easement to like memorialize that existing condition. And then I have the standards on screen.
Thank you, staff. Next, I will see if the commissioner have any comments or discussion. Commissioner Gaskell?
In the original thing, what exactly is it? Is it going to be above or behind? Which is it?
So it's going to be a addition to the existing building, and it's going to have new office space on the ground level with two apartments on the second level.
Oh, so it's going to go behind and up?
Yeah, so
Okay,
the
okay,
front
now
of
I
the
got it.
building will remain one story, and then the rear addition of the building is going to be 2 stories.
Okay, I got it now.
Commissioner Sepisi?
Nothing at the moment.
Commissioner Truxell?
The drive aisle variation, it's, what's the minimum, 26 feet? And their variance, they're asking for 2 feet?
Yes, and that's
2 in the back, 2 feet in the back and 1 foot in the front,
correct.
25 and 24. And the fire department's okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. That was my only question, actually.
Commissioner Hamilton?
No questions.
Commissioner Truxell actually asked what I was gonna ask about the driveway. Other than that, I don't have anything. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to testify? No?
I do have the petitioner here.
You do? Okay. Do you wish to speak? Or- No? Okay. Commissioners, do you have any further comments or discussion? No? If there are any further comments or discussion, I'd like to close the public hearing.
So
Make
moved.
them second.
Commissioner Truxell made a motion and seconded by Commissioner Gaskell. Can we have a roll call, Jason?
Vote to close the public hearing. Commissioner Gaskell.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes?
Commissioner Sepisi.
Yes.
Commissioner Truxell.
Yes.
Acting Chair Gatto.
Yes. The motion carries, and now, let's see here, we need to.
Once the
can I
board
have a
meeting.
motion for the special use? Do we have to do that first?
We could go through the.
Review the
Okay,
standards.
standard first.
So the standards for the special use approval, basically the proposed use fits in with the neighborhood. It'll add additional housing choice options to the village in a location where there may not be existing apartments in this style. It's located on a pace bus route, so you could argue this is transit-oriented development. And let me go to the standards for the variation. The drive aisle width reduction is necessary given the site constraints and will not alter the development pattern of the area. Then I have the standards for the site plan architectural approval. And the motions.
May I have a motion regarding the special use?
Yes, I make a motion to recommend the village board grant a special use permit for residences when located above or to the rear of the principal use to the petitioner, Qasim Abdullah of Family Dental Care at 7895 West 159th Street in the B3 General Business and Commercial Zoning District, in accordance with the plans submitted, and adopt the findings of fact as proposed in the September 7th, 2023 staff report, subject to the conditions proposed in said staff report.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Gassos, second by Commissioner Truxell, or Fepisi. Jason, please take roll call.
Commissioner Gaskell,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Sepisi,
Yes.
Commissioner Truxell,
Yes.
Acting Chair Gatto.
Yes.
Motion passes.
May I have a motion regarding the variations?
Sure. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend the village board grant variations from the zoning ordinance as listed in the September 7, 2023 staff report pertaining to drive aisle width and sign location to the petitioner Hassan Abdallah of Family Dental Care to permit the construction of a mixed-use addition to include office space and residences when located above or to the rear of a principal use at 7895 159th Street in accordance with the plans submitted, and adopt the findings of fact as proposed in the staff report.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Truxell, seconded by Commissioner Gaskell. Jason, can you take roll?
Commissioner Gaskell,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Sepisi,
Yes.
Commissioner Truxell,
Yes.
Acting Chair Gatto.
Yes, and the motion passes. Can I have a motion three?
I'd like to make a motion to grant site plan architectural approval to the petitioner Ghassan Abdallah of Family Dental Care for the development of a mixed-use building with apartments above offices at 7895 159th Street in accordance with the plans submitted, and adopt the findings of fact as proposed in the September 7, 2023 staff report, subject to the conditions proposed in said staff report.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Commissioner Hamilton, seconded by Commissioner Truxell. Jason, please take roll call.
Commissioner Gaskell,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Sepisi,
Yes.
Commissioner Truxell,
Yes.
Acting Chair Gatto.
Yes. Motion passes. Can I have motion four, please?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of the final plat of easement to the petitioner Ghassan Abdallah of Family Dental Care in accordance with the plat of easement submitted and dated July 6, 2023, subject to the condition that the plat is subject to final review and approval by the village engineer and village attorney.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Sepisi, seconded by Commissioner Gaskell. Jason, take roll call, please.
Commissioner Gaskell,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Sepisi,
Yes.
Commissioner Truxell,
Yes.
Acting Chair Gatto.
Yes. Motion passes. This item will go to the village board on September 19th.
It says October 3rd.
Oh,
Was it going the
Is it
19th?
changed to October 19th or October?
I believe the first reading is the 19th.
It's the 19th, I'm
It's
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
September 19th.
Okay.
That'll be the adoption, right? On the- Yeah.
It was a unanimous.
With a unanimous vote, it'll be on the 19th.
It'll be the 19th. Yep.
All right, item number 2. The second item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing to consider recommending that the village board grant West Point Builders, Inc. on behalf of Tinley Park Main Street LLC a special use, final plat of subdivision, plat of vacation, rezoning, and variations for the mixed-use development West Point at Harmony Square. A text amendment to the zoning ordinance is also proposed to facilitate the development by relocating a segment of the street-level commercial required designation in the Legacy Downtown Core Regulation Plan. The project includes a 5-story mixed-use building on North Street with commercial space on the first floor and 62 residential units located above. Additionally, the development includes 63 townhome units at the former site of Central Middle School. Site plan and final plat approval are also being considered at the meeting. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Moved. Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Sepisi and seconded by Commissioner Gasco. I will ask for a voice vote. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Before we proceed, I would like to note that I have received certification of the public hearing, notice in the local newspaper required by state law. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter this evening before sworn in, they must be sworn in before they speak, but after the staff's presentation. Staff, if you could please proceed with your presentation at this time.
Thanks, Chairperson. I know we went through the workshop last time, and I'll just note that it was 63 residential units, and not 62. That was a typo from the first meeting. So we'll kind of walk through the different requests here as part of the public hearing, and then we'll give it to the petitioner. There are some updates from the plans. Because of the quick turnaround, not everything made it into the packet right when it went out. But the updated plans were given to you guys before the meeting, and then they're available online as well. So they'll kind of walk through some of their changes that came from that workshop and kind of the adjustments they made to the plans. A couple other things I do want to note is that if this is not related to the Tehan site or the plaza, this is just the private development that's to the east of that. And then I'll also note that the uses, that the residential use itself is permitted, and that there's really no discussion or request on the ownership of these, that should be introduced as part of the public hearing, so. And here's just a rendering of kind of what we're headed towards, so we'll go into the details, on this and kind of let you know what we're working towards. And here's the townhomes and then the rendering of the mixed-use building. The existing site and history, we have kind of really three lots that are here. We have the, where the mixed-use structure is gonna be is the lots along North Street. That also includes part of 173rd Street right-of-way that would be vacated as part of this request. And then the former Central Middle School site, which held the Central Middle School until, from about the 1930s till 2003. In 2003, it was given from District 146 to the village, hoping to see that redeveloped, which is where we're at now with this proposal. And you can kind of see here, we have the layout in the reds, the Tehan site. Purple is kind of where the village is going to be proposing the plaza. We'll have an extension, the 67th court that comes through, and then to the east of that is where we'll have the mixed-use structure, and then to the north of that, in the yellow, is where the townhomes are, with a couple private parks that they have proposed in there as well.
Private?
Yes, this is a public hearing, so any questions can come after the petitioner's proposal. But yes, they're private parks for the development. And this is just the renderings of the plaza that the village is proposing, so it's not part of this request, but a lot of what their request is and how they're proposing the development is kind of tied to this layout. So just showing some renderings of the public plaza that'll be there with Harmony Square. Zoning on this is, you kind of have two zonings. The townhome portion of this is zoned downtown general, which the goal of that is for multifamily dwellings, kind of to increase density around the downtown core, allow some rooftops there to kind of support the commercial that's in the downtown core. And then the kind of number two that's on there is zoned downtown core, and that's where that mixed-use building's proposed there. And that's really looking for those types of mixed-use buildings with commercial on the first floor, and then residential above it.
This
Near,
is which property, I'm sorry? When you're saying there's mixed use and apartments above it, which property is that? Or did I miss
Nope.
something?
number two, on that is the mixed-use building.
Is there,
If we could just save questions to the end,
I'm
instead of just interjecting in the middle of this, but it's number two is where the mixed-use building will be there with
I
commercial.
can't see number two, that's why I asked.
Okay.
We can't see the numbers.
So here with the blue that's there along North Street is the mixed-use building with commercial on the first floor, parking garage, and then residential above it. So they have 63 units are proposed for the townhomes, and then 63 units above the mixed-use building as well. So for a total of 126 units between the two developments. As part of the proposal, the petitioner, and this was with the guidance of staff to kind of move, there was a required commercial that's along North Street, and they're looking to relocate that to front the plaza rather than North Street. And that's really upon kind of staff's direction with the plaza design, is really to try and activate the different sides with different commercial uses. So to the north of this is existing commercial uses, to the west of this will be commercial, and then to the east. So it's really trying to activate kind of the three frontages of that plaza. So they're looking to just essentially move where there's required commercial. And again, that's kind of with the original plan and the original code, didn't really anticipate that there would be a public plaza at this location. So it's really kind of adjusting for what's been proposed there. Overall, there is, again, 63 units in the mixed-use development. It's a 5-story building on North Street. First floor commercial, a little over 5,000 square feet of commercial space there, along with some amenities and the parking garage. The second floor of that building then has a couple amenity decks that are in the back, as well as the front that would kind of look the plaza. Floors 2 through 5 are where those, and apology for the typo, again, it's 63 residential units that are above that on floors 2 through 5. And then the townhome portion of this has 63 2- and 3-bedroom townhomes as well. The one variation they're looking for here is just for the 5 studio apartments, which are going from 800 square feet to 705 square feet. And the justification for that was kind of similar to South Street, which is that there's a lot of amenities here. So you have the amenity decks, bike storage, the outdoor patio, a lounge area, parcel storage, things like that, that kind of help offset some of that. But outside of those 5 studios, everything else meets the minimum size requirements.
How much were those studios again? I'm sorry.
If you could save question, so it is a formal public hearing, so any questions just kind of come at the end of this, and then we can, either staff can answer it or the petitioner can answer it. The overall uses here, so as part of the workshop, we discussed kind of the need for an outdoor patio space potentially with the commercial on the first floor. They did kind of adjust for that, so I'll let the petitioner kind of show where they kind of adjusted to have some outdoor dining space as we hope and anticipate that there'll be a restaurant there at the kind of hard corner of this. And they were able to fit some into the original plan, but they've made a few additional adjustments as well based on the feedback they received. Open item 3 is just kind of to note that the streetscape on this, it's close, but it's not necessarily the final streetscape plans. We're working with our consultant, and they'll kind of do a final review with the final permit to make sure it meets the village's streetscape plans. The biggest changes I'll note that they've made to this, as far as the site plan goes, from the last proposal to here, was that the access to this used to be through the surface parking lot that's to the north of the mixed-use building. They've since relocated that along the east side of the building, kind of North Street there. And then in that space, we're able to get a dumpster enclosure, trash enclosure, so that way they have some additional space if there's a restaurant, or even if there's, with that many apartments, there can be additional trash, and that gives for an enclosed space there for them to keep it in. So, same number of parking stalls, just kind of a relocated access there, and then a new dumpster enclosure.
Dog park, private dog park, right?
Yes.
Private parks?
Yeah.
Got it. Sure.
The kind of first floor plan you can see here is the commercial space that is on the southwest side of the building. And then the kind of common amenities slightly above that to the north, where they have the on-site office, the package disposal, club room, rental rooms. Similar amenities that are in the Boulevard project as well, that'll be there. The second floor plan were again, the amenity decks. We discussed the ability, if there was 8 units that essentially didn't have balconies in this, if those were possible. So in the workshop, the response to that was basically they'd have to be a little different than the rest of the building, and architecturally didn't really work with it. There's only a small amount of units that have those. Those are the 5 studios, and then I believe 3 others are the 1-bedroom apartment. So there wasn't too many concerns with that, as the majority of the units in this building will have balcony space. There was also just a brief discussion of kind of how the fenced patios on the second floor, because you have these amenity decks, will be separated, so they will kind of have a fenced area that will separate those. It's also kind of, the people renting those spaces will know that there is an amenity deck obviously out adjacent to their unit, so there wasn't too many concerns with that and how they'll manage it. The one request is a variation of basically set back these floors 2 through 5 of this, which is about 24 feet from the property line. And so one of the code requirements is a maximum setback, very much different than the rest of the village where there's minimum setbacks. So if you think of like a traditional single-family neighborhood, you have a minimum setback for your home, trying to create that front yard. In the downtown, there's actually a maximum setback, is you don't kind of want traditional single-family homes, you don't want shopping centers with parking lots in the front, you want to bring the buildings up kind of towards the street, create that urban environment. So here they still do that with the first floor, but then kind of step back these floors 2 through 5. It creates that amenity deck on the second floor for the residents to use that overlooks the plaza. Also kind of helps with the scaling of the building a little bit. Here's just an overview of kind of some of those patio amenities that the petitioner can go over a little bit more, but fire table, bar, grills, cooking areas, as well as some greenery space up on those roofs. The variance, the special use is related to, the special use request is related to the first floor commercial space that's here. So the requirement would be for this entire first floor to be traditional commercial space on the street level that would be 50-foot deep. What they've proposed here is 45 feet, and that's really because they've kind of maximized what they can do before they'd start eliminating parking stalls in the garage on the first floor. And then also bringing the special uses there to bring down the amenity space into that first floor commercial. So it's permitted, it's not prohibited, it's permitted, but just with the special use space, which specifically also calls out that basically the first floor appearance should remain basically commercial and tie in with the commercial appearance of that first floor. And again, I think I doubled up on the patio for the commercial space, but I'll let the petitioner kind of address how they had adjusted and addressed that. Loading and trash, we kind of went over this as well in the meeting, and they did adjust to include that new trash enclosure. That just allows some additional space, again, for residential. And then if there is a large trash producer in that building, the restaurant has a space to do it. It's not particularly close to that commercial space, but there's an interior trash area as well, so that could always be the initial holding, and then they can bring it out to the enclosure kind of later on. So they adjusted for that, and then also addressed kind of what their intent is for the townhomes, and those trash cans would be inside of the garages that they have proposed there. Architecturally, here's what they've proposed for the kind of main facade of that mixed-use building. They did give the material percentages, so the building on all four elevations does meet the minimum material percentages, which is primarily brick, stone, and then fiber cement poured siding in there. There's a minimal amount of kind of ephes and those kinds of things just for the detailing trim. So this does comply with our minimum material specifications. Here's kind of the elevation. So this is the North Street elevation, and this was kind of the one where it took a little bit of work to get where we're at. With the parking garage on the first floor, it's a little difficult since behind this is just nothing but vehicles. So what we worked with the petitioner on was trying to bring around that commercial appearance of the facade as much as possible to North Street to make sure that's still an attractive kind of commercial looking facade, and really kind of tie it into the main facade that'll be fronting the plaza. There was some adjustments here, and we did include the conditions that basically where they have, there could be basically village public signage for events at the plaza, that'll actually be glazing, so they'll look like windows, but then if our marketing department wants to advertise what events are happening at the plaza, they can utilize it as that as well. And here's kind of the previous elevations, just so you can see where we kind of came from. It is a parking garage behind there, so we kind of worked backwards, or worked from that and just tried to brighten it up a little bit. Here's the northern elevation, and some of these elevations have adjusted in the most recent one. So because they moved the parking garage entrance, they will have to adjust for that. So the garage door will move slightly from where it's at in these. There is a variation on this for the glazing on the first floor. So the code just basically says that there's supposed to be 60% glazing on street level facades. It doesn't make it clear if that's where there's commercial only or not, so there is a variation for that. But obviously, the code also is pushing for enclosed parking, particularly on the first floor. So it's pretty hard to do those two things at once unless you want windows looking into a parking garage. So there is a variation for that, but they did kind of create the faux window appearance, so it will look like glazing. It will be glass, opaque kind of windows throughout that first floor. The one kind of discussion that was left a little open-ended was the carports really on that, whether they were preferred, just not preferred at all, or if there was some alternative like doing a separate parking structure where that surface parking lot is. They did use these to basically at least give the minimum number of parking stalls will be covered. So while they won't all be in the garage, they'll either be in the garage or under these carports for the minimum number. They're designed to kind of be minimalistic on purpose and not kind of stick out. The alternative would also be, do you just not have this structure, or again, two, you could build a separate parking garage. The townhomes, here's kind of the updated elevations that they adjusted. The line drawings in the model previously were slightly different, but they did adjust those to make sure the line drawings and the color elevations were the same here, and this gives you kind of a better depiction of how it'll look like. And I'll let the petitioner again kind of walk through it, but they have a plan of kind of 4 different models, and we have the material samples as well. So there'll be similar designs, but you won't have kind of the exact same thing over and over in there. I know it came up of a couple other examples that aren't in Tinley Park that are around that have that same exact building replicated over and over. Here they'll look similar. They'll be anywhere from, I believe, 3 to 5 units, but then you have kind of different colors, different materials that'll be blended between there. Here's kind of the different elevations. And again, where the sides of these front streets, they have upgraded elevations that really help to treat it more like a front rather than just a side of a building. So I believe along 67th, they have 67th Court, they have the buildings fronting 67th Court, but then to the east of that, some of the side buildings kind of front 67th Avenue, but then they've upgraded the facades, kind of give it that front appearance. Here's, it kind of hard to see these, obviously, and it's just a material package, but we have the samples up here as well that kind of show the different styles of what they're trying to go to. And again, this is for the townhomes, but it does also tie in the townhomes and the mixed-use building kind of have similar material palettes as well. So to tie those together. The landscape plan, there's a fairly maximized development on this outside of the kind of 2 private parks that are out there. One's kind of surrounded by the townhomes and the other one's a dog park amenity for the mixed-use building primarily. And so outside of that, there's only a little bit of space for landscaping in the parking lot and as well as the frontages. But they have utilized that space kind of, particularly along North Street. They've done some landscaping there to also help with that facade. That's the parking garage. And then we still have the streetscape that'll be installed as part of this. And again, that's still conditional based upon the village's consultant finishing the streetscape plan and giving them some guidance. The goal is, of course, to kind of have this tie-in with the plaza, as well as the streetscape here will be very similar, if not the exact same, as the boulevard's streetscape there. Signage, this was revised a little bit since the last meeting, so they have the kind of traditional development signs that you'll see now, kind of like the boulevards. This one won't be a projecting sign, it'll just be a traditional wall sign on the 5th story. That'll face to the south towards the train station on North Street and then towards the plaza to the west. They then have a kind of a uniform plan as well for the wall signs on the retail units that'll keep a uniform sign design. So colors can change if there's multiple tenants, there can be different logos, but they'll be mounted and have kind of the similar style between those. Ground signage, they have a variation for the 2 townhome signs. They're not extremely large signs, but they are beyond what we typically see for townhome residential developments in this area. But they do have it kind of at the 2 corners there with a reduced setback on those 2, and then slightly larger, I believe they're informational signs, which is the dog park and the resident park sign, just to kind of let people know what those are and that they're basically private parks for the development. And again, all that kind of ties in the signage, the colors of that kind of tie into the architectural side of it, and then they kind of have some uniform logos, designs, colors, things like that across the different signage. Parking, they meet the minimum number of parking stalls, which is 1-to-1 for the residential developments. The townhomes do have 2 interior spaces for each of the townhomes and an attached garage. So that fully meets the code. The parking on the mixed-use building is the request here for a variation to allow some of those parking stalls to not be within the building footprint and not be covered. So 39 stalls are within the parking garage, and then 45 additional stalls on the exterior surface lot with 24 of those covered. So out of the 63 units, they have the full 63 covered, but just 39 are within the actual building footprint. To go underground, and this has come up on a few things, that you could get it done that way, but the economics of that just aren't there. So this is kind of the third developer we've had looking at this site, and even really with the boulevard as well, it's just not economical with construction costs the way they are to go underground. It really makes these not possible to get built. So they've kind of done the best they can here to include it in the building footprint as much as they can, but they're kind of limited in where they can go with that mixed-use building. The additional light fixture sheets were also supplied as part of this, and those were in with the packets as well. Bike parking, that is unique to our legacy code. It's promoting people to own bikes, use bikes. So there is bike racks that are built into the streetscape plan, but it also wants for multifamily buildings to have their own bike parking. So the 39 stalls that are within the parking garage have basically bike hangers in front of their parking stalls where they can store bikes. And then there's also an additional storage area within that parking garage for any of the units that have parking outside of the garage. They'll have their own storage area as well there. As part of this request, there's also the plat of vacation, which is for the 173rd Street right-of-way, as well as the plat of subdivision, which includes the proposal of these two lots, as well as any of the easements or anything else that goes with the plat of subdivision. So that request is there. There's 8 variations as part of this, not uncommon, kind of similar to what the Boulevard had. Most are fairly minor things or related to the signage. It's largely in conformance with what the plan and the zoning code wants, but obviously there's the parking, the signage, and just a few of those, the 5-foot commercial requests, those things. So that's all I have. I'll hand it over to either you guys as the commission, or I know the petitioner has got a proposal and a PowerPoint as well to go through.
Do the commissioners wanna talk before his little presentation with the developer, or do?
No, the only thing I see that I don't like, now I don't know what everybody else feels, I'm not crazy about the carport parking. I just think it's kind of cheesy looking.
I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree too.
Could I ask some of you to speak up? It's very difficult for us. We don't have this man that explained everything speaking into his microphone. And there's a lot of information here and we need more clarity. If you could speak into your microphone on our behalf as we will up here. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Commissioner Manning, do you have anything?
No, I just wanna concur with the Commissioner Gasco about the carport, the overhang. It is kind of, it does seem like, out of place, or not really connected to design-wise.
Commissioner Truxton?
I think the architectural design is consistent with what would be across the railroad tracks, the boulevard. So you have consistency there. I like the commercial aspect of this, so you can possibly get another restaurant or two. I think the residents may have concerns with the density. I think that's probably something that's going to be controversial. So other than that, it's a nice-looking design to me. It's just a lot, and that's where I'm at right now. I'd kind of like to hear what the residents say.
Commissioner Williamson?
No comments.
I agree with Commissioner Truxell. The density, I think, might be an issue with that space, but I also agree that it conforms with the boulevard. I do have a little bit of concern about the residential, the commercial space underneath, because the boulevard is still vacant, so I'm a little concerned about that. I don't know if there's anything that the village can do at some point, like by offering incentives for people to absorb those commercial property spaces. I don't know if that's something that's possible or not, but that's a huge concern of mine. Because, like I said, we have a boulevard that's still vacant, and, you know, that's a big thing. I like that I don't agree, I don't like the carports. I think it doesn't really fit our area. You know, we see that a lot on the West Coast, and that's more for sun, not, you know, snow or any of that. So I don't really care for that, option. And then I believe, I did like to see that the garage is now, the garbage is now enclosed, and, you know, how you guys working on that plan, that looks great. But if the petitioner would like to speak, the developer.
Good evening. My name is Terry Smith. I'm a land planner, landscape architect
Swear 'em in.
from BSB Design. And,
Can I swear you in first?
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sure.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do?
Perfect. Can you
Okay.
just sign into while you're?
Okay, great. Thank you. Now, in addition, I'd just like to introduce some of our other team members, development team members are here. From West Point Builders, Pat Curran and Bill Hardy. From our architectural team, Schwartz Lewis, Brad Lewis, and Bill Schwartz. And certainly we're here to answer any questions that you might have. So I just want to be careful just not to go through all of this, just repeating what Dan had said, but, just the site, what I'd like to do is just kind of go over some of the changes that were made as a result of the workshop meeting from last time. So materially, our site plan is pretty much the same as we had a couple of weeks ago at the workshop meeting, same number of units, arrangement of buildings with the mixed-use building at the south end facing the square, and the townhomes up along the north end, up on the north side of the site. We tried as much as possible, obviously, to Dan's point, of facing the townhome buildings to the street so that we can get front doors facing the street, and where we had buildings siding the street, we had some side entries so as to kind of emphasize that building entry. This graphic just shows, again, the main change in the building, the incorporation of the storage, the garbage dumpster pad in the event that there were a more substantive user came into the commercial space. To put that garbage dumpster in that location, we had to shift the entry into the garage off to 67th Avenue. In addition, just a minor little change, we also add a little service walk to the north side of the mixed-use building. Proposed parking, the same as the original concept from a couple of weeks ago. Same number of parking spaces. Again, and no change in the parking on the mixed-use building. Again, at the workshop meeting, and again, same with tonight, there were some questions, concerns about the use of carports, and you're right, Angela. They're used a lot in the west and southwest, but they're also used. We're starting to see them used more up north. This is the project that I took some images. It's actually a project in Michigan, which is it's a cold climate. They get snow, and you can see some of the pictures. They have actually snow, and the pictures were taken in winter. So it is, you know, it is possible to use these structures in a climate like ours. These aren't cheap-looking structures at all. They're steel fabricated, they're custom fabricated. These aren't things you go to Menards and get. These are pretty substantive structures that are, you know, I think color-wise, we'll probably do something, you know, from a color standpoint that'll match the building. It will blend in, and I don't really think they're, in my opinion, I don't think they're as bad looking as maybe a lot of people make them out to be. We've also done a lot of these projects where we have, you know, freestanding detached garages, and those can look pretty bad too, to be honest with you. So, the other challenge that we have in that auto court is just the what little room that we have in order to get the largest footprint of a mixed-use building, to get as much parking as we can, as much commercial as we can in that building. We just kind of run out of room, and to actually get freestanding garages, we need a lot more area in that space that we really don't have. So we just thought that, and the other thing with carports is that they're covered, but at the same time, there is some openness to this, so you don't feel like you're in this confined auto court space. The site amenities that we have are consistent with what we were proposing originally. There's a courtyard in the townhome area. There's also a dog park, an additional amenity spaces on the roofs of the mixed-use building, one that faces out onto Harmony Square, and another in back as a more private roof deck space for the residents. This rendering kind of shows you, or gives you an idea, the sort of the look that we're suggesting for the mixed-use building. You also can kind of see how we're proposing a very strong kind of retail front, even though a portion of the building is dedicated for leasing and community room space. Again, the intent is for that to have that retail glass look as well. This graphic kind of shows the changes in the floor plan of the building from last time. It shows the shifted garage entry. I think it's a much more convenient garage entry now into the building. The new service door, as well as a trash door that will help facilitate the conveyance of the trash from the commercial space out to the new garbage dumpster pad area. This graphic shows there was some question or concern about the amount of patio space or street cafe space, if you will, on the south side of the mixed-use building where we have the commercial space. And there's an area that's about, from the face of the building to the curb, about 19 feet by 40 feet wide. So it's a pretty substantial area for a sidewalk cafe use for that potential restaurant tenant. This graphic shows the slight revision to the facade that occurred as a result by shifting the garage door. The color graphic on the upper right is the original graphic, and then as we shift the garage door, you can kind of see in black and white the new location of that garage door. Same on the northwest side of the building where we used to have the garage door. We don't have a garage door now, but we do have a trash door leading out to the dumpster pad area. Material samples to help with controlling monotony in the townhomes, and those same materials will be picked up and used for consistency in the mixed-use building as well. And this graphic just shows you some of the elevations, how to help accentuate and augment that retail space, how we have a taller 13-foot floor-to-ceiling height in that space. I had mentioned at the outset how we worked hard on those side elevations to have side entries facing the street, and that's indicated in the lower, the graphic on the lower right. In the original presentation, we showed some alternative elevations, again, to help supplement or alleviate some of the concerns that that there may be with monotony issues. Our townhome units are, again, 3-story, 2-car rear garage, I think 1,500 to 1,800 square feet, thereabouts. And this graphic just shows how the various material palettes will be used in alternating fashion to help control the concerns with respect to monotony. You know, I think we started this process with the village, and again, we thank you to the staff and to you for all the time you spent helping us out on this proposal. But I think from our original proposal in February, we've worked hard, working back and forth on making several design changes to both the site plan and the building designs to get where we are this evening. This, I think Dan showed this. The graphic on top was the original building, one of the original building designs, and how we worked hard on the North Street elevation to provide some glazing or faux glazing or some openings and other treatments to provide a nicer facade along North Street. There's also, I think on a previous graphic, and I forgot to point it out, there is going to be some provisions for event signage on the elevation facing North Street. This actually shows how we've worked to increase the amount of commercial space on the first floor. And this just shows how, you know, some of our signage that we're proposing, as well as we've made we've done a lot of hard work in trying to come up with a nice landscape plan, as well as a nice hardscape plan as well. So again, I'm sure there's going to be there are a lot of questions that you'd like to ask, and we're here to answer those questions.
Perfect, thank you, Jerry. Does anyone else have any questions?
Well, I've got one comment to make about the carports. I drive into that parking lot area and stuff, and I'm looking for a gas pump. That's what that reminds me of. And I would be happy if you could put up an enclosed, it doesn't have to have doors on it or anything, and drive-in carport enclosed on 3 sides. You know, just a simple masonry wall with a roof on it instead of the carport. I just don't like that appearance. It just, that would keep me out of there. That would really keep me from renting a place there.
Commissioner Sepisi?
I have to concur. I'm not sure what the actual solution is to the problem, but I don't think it's these. I've seen things like this before, never liked them anywhere, so I gotta go along with Mr. Gaskell.
Commissioner Manning?
Again, I concur.
Commissioner Phil?
Yeah, so to tag on to what Commissioner Gaskell says, maybe the enclosures on both ends, or 3 sides, I'm not sure if you could do 3 sides.
It's not going to change the footprint that much.
Yeah, right. My thought, though, is, you know, with the amount of electric vehicles that are coming out, too, you've got a lot of parking spaces there where people won't be able to charge a car either. So that may be an opportunity to put a couple of charging posts as well. So I know that adds a cost to the development, but electric vehicles are here and they're growing, so it's something that should be considered.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes. Overall, I think, the plan looks good, last time we looked at it, and it still looks fine. As far as the carport goes, I'm just a dumb engineer without any design abilities. Looks okay to me. I mean, I grew up south of Lake Michigan where it snows heavy, and I was thinking it'd be kind of nice to have the snow off the top of your car if it's better than being in the middle of the parking lot. But I don't see it as a deal breaker.
I'd have to agree about the carport. I don't know if there is a way that you can enclose three sides of them. I've never seen them that way, but I don't know if that's an option or not. I'd have to see what it would look like to agree with it completely, but I don't care for the carport look at all.
It would look like a long garage, only
Yeah.
it wouldn't have doors on it.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
And I don't know if you guys have maybe thoughts of it, if you're just okay with them removing them, that's obviously the simplest option.
Yeah.
With the other options being you could do three sides or you could do enclosed garages there. So I think if there's a unanimous, we don't want the carports, maybe it's trying to give direction between those other options.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the petitioner's got any, obviously, thoughts on it as well.
I do have a question. The carport spaces as proposed, are these dedicated spaces or are they first come, first served?
At least some of, the carport spaces would be dedicated. So those are the one-to-one, each unit would get at least one of those spaces either in the garage or under the carport.
So then with regard to the electric vehicle situation, that would have to be resolved if it was an assigned carport space.
Yes, and so they'd still have to, at least under the state laws that was passed, I'm not sure if there's been revisions to it or not. They were gonna have to at least, for basically any residential unit, and that included single-family homes, has to come with essentially conduit in the panel upgrades, so that way it can be easily converted to electrical vehicle charging stations. They don't actually have to put them in, but they have to run the conduit and the equipment for it. So that would have to come in with the final plans as well. And obviously for the townhomes, that's easy. For the garage ones, it's relatively easy. But the carport and the surface parking would be a little more difficult. You'd have to at least run separate lines out there underground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Pat Curran with West Point Builders, and
Can I swear you in?
sure,
Do you swear to, or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do,
Perfect. Can you sign in?
sure.
Thank you.
Just on the carports, if the board doesn't want the carports, we're open to removing them. So that's not, so if the village, if that's the village's feeling, we're very open to that. So we'll follow we'll follow your guidance on that from the village.
Well, the final decision will be made by the village board. We just make recommendations.
Okay, but we're open whether it's here or the village board doesn't want it, and we're open to whatever the village wants as far as that's concerned. Having them or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any more comments?
So should we get a consensus for the board then, I guess? I mean, it's either take them out or,
Well, again, that's up to the board. We
Right.
can only say what we think.
yeah, so. Do you guys have a count on who's,
I'll go out on a limb and say the majority outside. Commissioner Hamilton pretty much said they'd prefer them to be removed. So
yeah,
at a minimum, we can just, that can be a condition we add on to the recommendation, go to the
there we go.
board.
Thanks, Dan.
That they be removed. If you guys have anything, like if you either see them enclosed or a garage, then I think you'd still have to build that consensus.
Would anyone from the audience like to speak?
May it please the chair, commissioners, I want to talk about parking, but I don't want to center my theme on the project. What I want.
Can we
to-
have,
Can I just swear you in first?
Oh, I'm
Maybe you could just-
sorry.
That's okay, I'm gonna just sign in. What's your first name?
John, my name is John Stallmack. My wife Karen and I, we've been residents of Tinley for the past 15 years. We live in that area, so when I speak from personal knowledge. You want me to sign in?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me- Oh, no. Hold on. As I said, I live in the area. I live at 17118 67th Court. What I'd like to know is, where is the parking that is taking place now going to go? Let me start from the north and work my way south. As you know, you have many fine outings here. One of the main things, and I imagine Harmony Square is going to continue that, are these concerts. That area is used for parking, and it is full for virtually every concert. Okay, then we move farther south, and we see the VFW, which has many events. The Queen of Hearts night, their different weddings and such. They park in that area. The people, which was once a tennis court when we moved in, is now a full-fledged park, and there are continuous baseball games during the summer and tournaments and everything else, and they need parking. So my neighbors and I, we're wondering, is our residential street going to be one parking lot for everybody now that this space is being consumed? Not to mention, I know that of the 125 units, it's a one-for-one. What about guests? What about guests for the restaurant? Where are they going to park? I'm fearful that our neighborhood is going to be turned into a parking lot.
Safety.
From what I'm understanding is, and Dan can talk on this, they're thinking that most people will park in the Metro lot, like they do now for,
Well, the Metro lot doesn't fill things up. They do that now, and there's still a huge overflow into that area. I don't think the Metro lot can handle all the parking.
Where did people park when the school was there?
yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't
See,
here.
That's it.
But what I'm
They had
saying-
to park somewhere else when the school was there.
Yeah, you didn't have all the venue and all the stuff that's going on right now. I'm telling you, on our street, it's like a freeway. People use it as a shortcut.
So would you rather sit and look at a three-store parking garage to accommodate that area?
I don't know what to do, but that's your decision. That's what you are supposed to do. All I am saying is, I am fearful that you're going to have with this project, you are going to have a tremendous overflow that can't be handled. I don't see logistically where these people are going to go.
If I may interject something?
Yes, sir.
Harmony Square, when they put in the venue with their stage and all this stuff for the concerts and that, is going to alleviate the use of the west side of the Metro lot because people won't be sitting there, they'll be parking cars there. There's gonna be a lot of parking available there. Is it gonna totally solve the problem? No, I don't know. I can't answer that. I'm not an engineer. But there is gonna be a lot of increased parking in that one spot of the venue because the actual music events
Yes, sir.
will be across the street.
Good point.
But what about the VFW and what about the
Well,
Memorial Park?
To go
They
back
use that.
to go back to where we were. The VFW has had things going on for decades, since I moved in here 41 years ago. They've had things going on for decades, and people found places to park. I mean, when that was a middle school,
They're going to be, we're going to have, I am fearful, I'm just expressing my opinion, okay? I am fearful that our streets where we live are going to be used as a parking lot for people. People, and we happen to have a driveway. I don't want people continuously going up and down my driveway looking for space. That's annoying. You know, I came here to live in peace. You know, I don't want to have this over-congested situation. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what you can do about it, but I'm just expressing our concern about what's going to happen to us once this thing goes through. Because there are going to be many, many people. You're talking about 125 units. That's just the people that live there. What about their guests? What about the people that go to the restaurant? There are many things that have to be addressed.
Well, the village has an ordinance. You cannot park on the street after a certain period of time until in the morning. So, I mean, even if they don't put up no parking signs on the street at that time, and maybe that's an option. Maybe a couple of the blocks that run, the townhouses that are there and the houses that are gonna be to the west of that, maybe the village can put in no parking signs on the streets there, you know?
They're there already.
We're there already, but people still park there. Now,
And then there's the trains. The trains come, they stay away from Oak Park Avenue so they don't get tickets. And they speed and all the hot rods and then they have the car shows.
Let's stay on point. This has nothing to do with the
We just
parking
lost a
situation.
dog on
Our neighbors lost a
67th
dog
Street.
2 weeks ago
Because of the traffic congestion.
that came down that street.
all I'm-
153 units is just way, what is the acreage there?
Hold on a second, though.
He's done.
We've got to have a forum here, so
Yeah.
we've got 1 minute at the
If the
podium.
comments got to be at the podium.
Sorry,
because
that's-
Otherwise.
Okay, okay.
the way
well,
it
yeah,
works.
all right. In conclusion, then, I'm just saying that I believe it's going to be a big problem. And I don't see what the solution is, because the overflow, I think, is not going to be able to be handled, and it's going to make life miserable for us. That's all. Thank you for hearing me.
Hey, Dan?
Yeah.
Just a question. So the south end towards North Street where the Metro lot is at, that takes some of the overflow like Commissioner Sepasi was saying, but the gentleman speaking, was talking about the existing issues towards the north end, 172nd Street. So it looks like that's wooded area on this one drawing I have. I'm not sure, but is there any plans in the future to have overflow lots? Is that a
No, I mean,
consideration?
that's pretty much the creek right there to
Is
the
it?
north of this.
Oh, that
so
is
there's
the
really
creek.
not
Yeah, the other side of the-
anything there. They are constructing with this development quite a bit of on-street parking that'll be there. I mean, particularly with the VFW, this is the most parking, because we just allow parking on this lot when people park there, I think it's the closest to the VFW, so
The
that's where
vacant
they
lot
park.
where the development's going, you're talking
Yeah,
about? Yeah.
but there is, outside of the largest kind of major events you do, so the downtown block party, those are fairly unique, and in most kind of suburban downtowns or anywhere, people do park on the streets around it. It's usually a day or two. For the concerts, for the VFW stuff, there is sufficient parking that's been down there, at least with the Metro lot, and the few hundred spaces that are there, as well as the additional kind of the subway lot, and then the lots
The municipal
also on
lot.
the west side of Oak Park Avenue. So there is quite a bit of parking there. The village is looking at additional opportunities in the downtown as well, to where we can add additional kind of overflow parking. But I have a feeling now people park here just because it's the closest thing, it's available there.
It sounds too
They'll
like
be parked,
it's,
they'll have to park further away, and they won't be able to park in front of the residential really much at all on the west side of 67th Court or on the east side of, is that 67th Avenue? But then there will actually be dedicated on-street parking constructed with this. So you have, I don't exactly know exactly how many spaces will be there, but you're talking about 30 to 50, somewhere in that range of additional on-street parking that'll be here as well.
so the other concern is the
I-
amount of traffic they have too already, and people tearing down the street and making shortcuts. So is there any way to apply some additional traffic control, one-way streets? It sounds like the signs aren't making any difference because it's already residential-only parking possibly.
Yeah,
But all the concerns that John was voicing, I can understand what he's saying.
yeah.
Sure,
more
and
enforcement.
some of it's a
Yeah.
little beyond what this project is, right? So they
Oh, of
only have
course.
certain requests in front of us. For the most part, they're allowed to develop what they're proposing here essentially by right. So the density, the housing units, the height, all that meets, the uses themselves, all of that meets the requirement. So with that being said, it's been a concern voiced by the village board, by the plan commission, and it's what we're working on for Oak Park Avenue particularly, is how you slow down. I know I go to the farmers markets too, and when I'm down there with a stroller, my kid, like cars are going 30, 40 miles an hour down Oak Park Avenue. So
Right.
that is one of those, how do you slow down vehicles overall in the downtown? So I think that's a valid concern. It's what we're working on as well with a consultant to come up with a streetscape plan overall here. That not only beautifies the streetscape, but with some underlying intent there that it will slow down some traffic.
So what I'm hearing is John's concerns are already noted in advance. You're already aware of that.
Yeah.
And they're,
And it's not directly related to this project,
Right.
but it's
Okay.
what we're working on, is finding other areas that we can have parking in the,
okay.
in the overall area, as well as then finding ways to slow down
Do you know
vehicles
how many
overall.
spots are in the metro lot and then down Hickory?
Do you know, girl? How many is it?
I get this guy's point.
Oh, I do
Okay,
too.
so 326 kind of on the north,
In Lot D, there's 326 spaces. There's about, just about.
so that's the north side of this.
Where the block party normally happens in there.
Is that where the boulevard is supposed to have the second building too?
No, this is just the north side of the metro lot that's shown on the,
One side.
yeah, so the existing parking that's in there. So that's,
Right. So what you guys can see here as far as the north side of the parking lot does have 326 spaces. The south side of that parking lot does have over 100 spaces, not including handicap spaces, 100 spaces that are accessible to regular vehicles, not including handicap parking. There is on-street parking on South Street as well as open to the public, and then Hickory Street also has over 100 spaces as well. So there is close to, I would say, roughly about 500 spaces.
The spots are there. It's just getting the people to
park.
go
To
there. That's,
yeah.
and they're gonna park at the closest ones, and that is, with any downtown where you're trying to get the uses and the type of things you wanna see in a downtown, you kinda got a group parking, and you really don't want it kinda on your main frontages. You also don't want it taking up large expanses of the downtown.
So in addition
I
to
don't
the-
wanna throw a ton of towns under, but if you walk around downtown Joliet's one that I've been there, there's plenty of parking in downtown Joliet, but it's not a place you wanna walk around it. And
Right.
some of that does have to do with the parking lots will kind of separate uses, you don't get the type of density you want. So it's where do you put those, where do you kind of consolidate them, tuck them behind? But the village is aware and looking for other opportunities. for it,
So in addition to the event parking, which you would hope they'd park in the metro spots, that's closest to Harmony Square and not go out in the neighborhood. But the gentleman had the other question about resident visitors. So with the townhomes, I see all the private drives and the garages. Is there room on those private drives between units for cars to park for visitors? Within that square, between 67th Ave, 67th Court, 172nd, where the townhome square is there any internal parking for visitors allocated there?
I'll leave that to the, yeah, I don't believe there's.
It doesn't look like it, but I know we've had other developments where they've had that. Yeah, that's that parking lot thing, but I'm just,
Yeah, there's additional spots in the lot, and then there's really the on-street.
I think like with Horton, we had that concern with the visitor parking, and there were spots within the development, the townhome area itself, not always on the street.
I think they just had the street parking,
Oh, okay.
right? I think they had sketched in a couple where they could maybe fit it.
Yeah,
But
all right.
for the most part, it's, if you have a visitor and you're in those townhomes, they're probably gonna park in
street
the
parking?
street nearby. There's not overnight parking traditionally allowed, but you can always call it in. So if you're a guest in one of those, you could call it in for one night or something if you were staying there. There is additional parking that's in that surface parking lot. Pretty much any of the ones they don't show that are covered there are additional parking spots. So they do have some flexibility there for additional parking for the residents and guest parking on how they want to manage it.
Is there any traffic control during events today, when we have the bands or the music events?
No.
No, so the streets are just open to traffic, okay.
North Street's closed.
Pardon me?
North Street is
They
closed.
close north, but not the residential street, you know?
Well, yeah, but I'm just,
Yeah. Maybe that's an option too, Dan. I don't know if that's already on the list of things to consider.
We can mention it to the marketing department,
Okay.
particularly as the events grow
All right.
and EMS as
People
well.
with a sticker that live there can get through, and then everybody else, sorry. Okay.
And that's
Yeah, but
kind of
who-
expanding where stuff's closed off has been.
Who's gonna monitor the
Obviously, we're
stickers?
moving this, so it's gonna be a different
stickers.
traffic
Okay.
control.
Right.
And
Who's
I
gonna
can
monitor
mention
that?
that to marketing and our police department.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
I would suggest speed cameras as some people are
I-
concerned with neighborhoods.
We can't take comments
Sorry.
unless it's at the podium, sorry.
Would you like to speak?
Hi, yes, I would. Hi,
What's your name?
Lisa Latronico.
Okay, Lisa, did you sign in?
I did.
Okay, I just want to swear you in.
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Okay. So my husband and I have lived in Tinley Park for over 20 years. We own 2 residences there, one on 173rd and Oak Park Avenue, and also one right across the street from the townhomes that are being proposed, so 17204 67th Court. And, you know, this has been a very, very difficult time for us after we read this article that came out, that this project was going on. My husband and I love our home. We renovated our home in 2011. And now, when I think about what I will wake up to and what I will look at, are all of these tract housing across the street from my beautiful home. And it is not aesthetically pleasing. There is a certain ambiance to that little neighborhood that we reside in. And it isn't glamorous, and it isn't expensive, and it isn't very opulent, but it's ours, and it's our neighbors. And we use that field daily. My neighbors use it, we use it, children use it, people ride their bikes through it, and know that that is going to go up, and I know what that is going to look like because I see it over at 171st and LaGrange. It's tract housing, it is not aesthetically pleasing whatsoever. I understand that there has to be changes in communities. I see that, I get it. I'm a general contractor, for God's sake. I know that this stuff happens. But there should be some thought. There's been a lot of talk by the West people and about the residents that are moving in and all of these things. What about the residents that are here now who have been paying taxes? I own 2 places, for God's sake. I've been paying taxes into Tinley Park. I was planning to live here for the rest of my life. And now I'm really questioning that. And so I would really want to understand why there is so much density in that field and why there are so many buildings being proposed in that townhome community. I don't quite understand why and what is the attraction there other than tax revenue. And so that is really frustrating to me. It's sad to me that that is, taking precedence over the people in the community. As far as the traffic in the area, my God, we live there. We spend all of our time in our driveway. We watch people up and down. I see it. It is crazy. A traffic study must be done. There has to be some kind of data. To just go here and say, oh, there's a lot of traffic. Well, you can't just believe me. You really need to look for yourselves and see really how many people are coming in and out. People use Oak Park, people use our street, 67th Court, 172nd, as a pass-through to Oak Park Avenue. There are residences they're being built right now on Oak Forest Avenue, correct? All those Hart's homes, tract homes that are being built. That's even making the area more congested. How do you think they're going to get through to Oak Park Avenue? They're going to cut through our area. They're going to want to take Oak Park Avenue to get to 159th Street. So there needs to be consideration for homes that aren't even built yet. We don't even there's only one model home that's up right now. What about when residents move in there? and they start flooding into the downtown area. So the traffic is a very, very big consideration, and it is true that our neighbor lost its dog the other week. It is really tragic because there's a lot of traffic. So I would suggest really looking at a study that takes place on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays when there's events. The parking at the Metro, sure, sounds wonderful. What about these veterans? How are they gonna walk all the way from the Metro to the VFW? They use our garage, they use right now, our driveway to park because some of these men cannot physically do it. So you're gonna have them walk over from the Metro all the way to the VFW? Really? Some of these guys are missing limbs. I don't get it. There's not that many handicapped places for them to park. So that is not a good argument for me. It is not. So that needs to be taken into consideration. And I just want to say, finally, and I know and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me, and I know it's a very emotional speech, but I really want also to know, these are apartments that are being built. This is mixed use, it's apartments, let's be honest with this. There are already apartments at the boulevard. They don't even have commercial space that's being rented out yet. We've got a popcorn stand. The community is not this ritzy community that can accommodate a lot of like shopping and things like that. People just don't do that anymore. Proximity to the train to go into the city, oh sure, that sounds great. People are working remote. People are not utilizing that train like they used to. I know, because I work and I live and I build in the city of Chicago. So I would ask that you take all of these things into consideration and really think about reducing the density. I don't think that we need it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm Desiree Kirsch. Is there a pen?
There was one.
What's your first name?
Desiree Kirsch. I live right across the street on 67th Avenue.
Okay, Desiree. Do you swear that and affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
So I think the density is an obvious concern. But I also have another question about the people who currently live here. I think my generation is concerned with lack of affordable housing. So what is the starting price on these townhomes? Are people going to be able to afford to buy them? I live on 67th Avenue. My taxes are going up, and I make good money. I'm a dental hygienist. And honestly, it'll probably have to come to moving out of Tinley Park because it's not affordable anymore. So what is the starting price on these townhomes? Are they affordable? And the density is an obvious concern. So I'd like to know what the starting price is going to be, and also about overnight guests. Where are overnight guests going to park? If they have kids that live in these townhomes, where are their kids' friends going to park? It's not just you get a parking spot and that's all the parking that you need. So yes, they can park in the Metro lot. Where are they going to park overnight? Is that going to be free parking overnight? So does anybody know the starting price of these townhomes?
I can let them, if they want to respond to it. It's not part of the request, though, for them to say what rent prices are, what sale prices
Are the townhomes for sale or are they for rent?
It's not part of the request, and it can't be introduced.
Is this a built-to-rent community or is this a built for sale?
It can't become part, so ownership is not part of a request here, and it's not part of the residential multifamily uses.
I know in other parts of the country, there's a lot of built-to-rent. And I want to know if these are for sale, these townhomes, and if they are, what is the starting price? That's all.
Would anyone else from the audience like to speak? What's your name, sir?
Good evening, David Brigham.
Hi, David. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Good evening. Before I start my comments on the proposal here, I want to go back to a comment made earlier by Dan about an initial public hearing that took place back in May. Excuse me. Now that public hearing was titled Harmony Square Public Hearing.
Yep, you're right.
Thank you.
Nobody in that public hearing mentioned, unless you read the fine print, that it involved Central Middle School or North Street development. I went to the village board and explained that on June 6th. At that time, I was told no pictures were available, no plats of survey, no drawings. I would be informed of any meetings coming up that the public was attended to. I heard nothing until I got the letter in the mail. Now I hear that there's proposals back to February from the developer. What was the village telling me on June 6th? I don't know. But I got nothing. Transparency, I know it's not you guys, but the transparency with this project, a lot to leave desired. I live at 17247 67th Avenue, a 110-year-old home, 150 feet away from this development of a 5-story mixed-use building. I'm very proud of my home. I'm very proud of where I live. This development doesn't meet those standards. I've never pretended that a development wouldn't happen here. I've been talking to the village for over 20 years about what could be there. There's probably been a half dozen possible sources. Always, the development included townhomes or row homes that circled the perimeter of the Central Middle School. Never anything like this density. This development is the largest one in downtown Tinley Park. It's the most visible to Harmony Square. This development needs to leave a lasting impression to all visitors. We need it to be the highest and best in class version of a development. And nothing else should be accepted less than that. My questions are focused a little bit around function and form. We've talked a lot about parking, and I was going to make some comments on that, but in addition to towards the VFW, the lot, the old Durbin's, the parking for that was all down 173rd, both sides of the street. That's lost. Again, people can park in the commuter lot during certain times of the day, but we are losing some public parking there. And I believe the parking lot that faces 67th Avenue, that's strictly tenant only, that's not public, right?
Like the on-street parking?
No, the parking lot, the surface lot.
Correct. That
Okay.
would just be for the mixed-use building.
So, no public spots there. From another functional standpoint, we talked about, or you guys talked about the second floor balcony, open space for tenants and that's 150 feet from my bedroom window. People are going to be out there. It's probably a young development, young people living there. Is there any restrictions to the hours or types of use for that? I could imagine myself being waken up in the early morning or late at night with my windows open and hearing barbecues going, somebody with a, I'm old, boom box.
There is sound ordinances
Yeah.
throughout Tinley Park, so I mean.
Right, but I'd have to call in and complain and.
Well, you know.
I just would like to have something put in place beforehand so the residents knew this place closes at 11 o'clock. No outdoor seating after 11, after 10, whatever the ordinance typical says, that should be well stated and documented and signage put up for that to be, everybody made aware. So that's one thing on function. The other thing on function, and a little bit, for 67th Avenue and 67th Court, any utility or lighting improvements for either of those streets?
Yeah, some of it will be done with this project, some of it will be the village, but there's, basically as part of this overall, most of the utilities, the overhead lines will be buried. Most of the utilities are getting replaced. I don't know all the details, but is part of both the plaza and this development. Pretty much
Okay.
all of those right-of-ways, all the utilities in that area will get replaced or upgraded as part of it.
So the overhead
Overhead
electric
lines will
and,
be buried there.
well, it's behind my, I'm not too sure you're gonna get there, but, it'd be good to have the 67th Avenue, taken care of. From a form standpoint, again, going back to the first, best of class, you know, I've read the proposal, a lot of use of Renaissance stone, brick veneer. To me, it sounds like stamped concrete. And that's not what we should be striving for. It needs to be better. Again, to the density, the layout there with the, you know, my home facing the side of a townhome in a parking lot, yay. That's about all I can say. Very, not aesthetically pleasing at all. Even if you put a door on the side of the building, it's still the side of a building. And to me, the density there is just way too high. The village needs to go back to earlier proposals, even as recently as 2019, when I think it was Encore Development came in and proposed a perimeter type of development. Much more attractive than this, and it would have more green space in the center and you know, a lot more aesthetically pleasing from both 67 Court and 67th Avenue. So I do have the three asks. You know, a better design for that surface parking lot. It just looks ugly. Call it what you want, but it just doesn't look right. You know, and then the development, going back to density, rotating the townhomes so that they face the street. I mean, that's nowhere else in Tinley Park does the side of a townhouse face the public street. Nowhere on Oak Park Avenue. The new development on Oak Park Avenue faces Oak Park Avenue. The one that's on Ridgeland, they face Ridgeland. I'm not too sure why we decided to rotate them here. The only thing I could think of is the developer needed more units to sell at a higher price, so the village could get more money. The village is gonna have to sacrifice, because like I said, this needs to be a best-in-class development. And that's all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Chuck Latronico. I'm Lisa's husband.
Hey, Chuck, can I swear you in? Do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So why a five-story building? Is there, I don't think there's any other five-story buildings in Tinley Park that are like this, is there? I own one on Oak Park Avenue, and it's three-story. Five-story over there is cutting off all the sunlight coming through all our houses, excuse me, and it's like we're gonna be in the dark, is what it's gonna be. And it's just not right. You got a dog park. Well, whose dogs can use that? Not ours, right? Just the people that live there? Is that fair? Our dogs walk through that park every day. Can't use it no more. And with the parking, you guys say the metro station, well, what happens when the people are going downtown and all them cars are parked in the metro station, then what? Them spaces are used up. So you can't say, go to the metro station to use the parking.
Well, we talked about it at
Workshop.
the workshop. I guess the ridership from Oak Park Avenue is down tremendously. And so they're thinking about
For now.
incorporating, I doubt it'll ever go back, to be honest. I work downtown and it's empty. I mean, let's face it. And most people go to 80th Avenue now because there's an express that's 26 minutes, so they drive to 80th Avenue. I live on this side of Tinley Park and I drive all the way to 80th Avenue. But we talked about it and Dan said, do you wanna talk on that point, Dan, about we were talking about incorporating some.
Sure. Yeah, we're going to, well, there will be electronic parking moving forward here in the metro lots here, so there will be daily pay opportunities if somebody wanted to park during those times and go to the businesses. It is just between 5 and 10 a.m. But it's not very full. I'm down there pretty much every day, and even during the day. Hickory Street can get a little full, and yes, those people will now park in the metro station, but there's.
The vets are gonna park there too, huh?
Not,
The vets are gonna walk from there to the VFW?
Just,
Do you know what to be a vet? You know what that's about?
okay, between 5 and 10, though, is when there'll be parking, and that's not available. So after that, it'll kind of open up after. So,
What about the sewers, the sewer system and the streets? Are you planning on widening the streets? Because you can barely get 2 cars down the street right now.
yeah, so utilities are being upgraded for most.
And all the
players.
sewer systems and everything.
Yes, so 67.
Yes.
And most of this area is water and sanitary, I believe, are getting.
That's all getting replaced. It's all new.
Yeah.
It's not tying into what's there now. And that's going to run off into maybe that creek
Correct.
over there.
There's overall upgrades to this area, including Oak Park Avenue, 67th Court, 174th. It's, the overall area is getting,
So what's going to get started first? Harmony Square or this?
they're two separate projects. So I think they're planning.
That's a lot of construction down my street. You're not living there. I don't see you sitting there getting dust and dirt and rocks and getting flat tires on your car because all the construction, and I like to know which one's going to start first. You're supposed to, what about the boulevard, the second spot?
So
That's not going in.
Underground utilities are gonna be what starts first for both projects.
Okay, isn't there supposed to be a certain amount of people buying in before you can even start the building? There's no percentage. Do you have, what kind of residents or businesses are going underneath there, do we know?
They don't have anybody yet.
So they're gonna stay vacant, just like the boulevard and half of them down Oak Park Avenue.
Part of Oak Park Avenue.
I guess
Yes.
I can address, we actually have quite a bit of business at Trust Center downtown development.
Let's hear it.
If you
Give me
kind-
one.
Sure, if you look at the old Cardinal Fitness space, sometimes what it took was, that one was the issue.
Yeah, I look at it every day.
The taxes, and as soon as we got someone to kind of divide that up, we're able to get businesses in there. So one of the issues with South Street is obviously they're not constructed yet. So that's one of the biggest hurdles to get through. We do have businesses interested in Tinley. The available spaces we have down there tend to be old homes or old buildings. That the majority.
Not
of
the
new
boulevard.
businesses
What
don't
about the
want.
boulevard?
So that's upfront construction costs with the owner. So, and again, different than the proposal here. So they've proposed as part of their development is they're white boxing these out. So they're gonna be further along than South.
You know, this is a blue collar town, and it's always been. Do you need it? So what about single family homes there in that lot instead of big or townhomes or condos? Or should I say apartments? What about single family homes that make it look like a normal downtown Tinley Park? That's not an option, right? Because you go up and there's 5 stories. And like I said before, I don't remember no other 5-story building in Tinley Park like that. Is there?
I believe.
The boulevard's 3.
Boulevard's 4, and then, Springford Hall, the one with Cardinal Fitness it's 5, but it's got a step back.
No, it's not. It's not 5, it's 4. And what about the dog, like I said, about the dog park?
Permitted
Well, the
here,
village has a dog park up 88th Avenue. There's a huge dog park there.
Good for 80th Avenue.
Yeah,
That's what
well,
I'm saying, though. You're saying there's not a dog park.
no, there is a dog park.
We walk our dog every day, and the fucking thing that you guys are gonna take away.
Whoa,
Ma'am, you're gonna have to stop.
control yourself,
Yeah.
ma'am.
I mean, I'm sorry that you're upset about a development coming in, that's why we're here talking about it. But you have to understand, that lot has been vacant for a very long time. So at some point, you knew that somebody was going to build on it,
Sure,
right?
yes.
So that's why
Not
we're
this.
talking through
This is a whole nother neighborhood.
what you want.
It's a whole nother neighborhood.
We're understanding what you're saying, and we're making documentations of that.
Okay.
As the commissioners here. And
So just to get back to this little dog park, so no other dogs are allowed to go in there unless you live there, correct?
yeah, I mean, they don't have to put a dog park there. They could do parking or another building by right there. So that's for the use of basically their renters to go use it. If they wanted to open it up to the public, they could, but they're gonna be the ones maintaining that. So it's not a village park, it's not a park district park, it's theirs. So I don't think they're gonna open it up to the public.
No, they're not.
That's up to them.
They're not gonna do that.
So it's for their residents is how they proposed it.
So is there gonna be sidewalks in front of the townhomes that go down so people can walk down on the street there?
Yeah.
There is. But like you said, there's no spaces for anybody else to park, so if they have a visitor, where are they gonna park? Way in the train station?
or on-street parking that's being developed.
There's not enough room. You cannot park on that street, on both sides of that street and get through.
Yeah, so it's proposed in this to put on-street parking in there.
There's not enough room. Trust me, I live there. There's not enough. I'll sit in front of, in my house, and I've watched cars that parked illegally on 67th Court many times, backing out of the VFW, because I even asked them, I said, will you please move so your car don't get hit? They back out, bam, they hit them because there's no room. There's zero space. I have a vet that parks in my driveway every time because he's a vet, and I let him do it. I let him do it. Now you guys want these guys to walk? There's not enough room. For something like that, there's just not enough room. The streetwise, it's just not. It's not gonna work. And you're gonna have a lot of angry residents here that's been there a long time. Like I said, I've been there over 22 years and own 2 places right in downtown. And we came in and bought this house, and there was a toilet. It was a dump. We gutted it, made the house look beautiful, and everybody in the neighborhood did the same thing to their houses. And now you're forcing us basically to get out of town because we're gonna have to deal with this garbage. Put yourself in our shoes. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Chucky. Hi, my name is Karen Stallmack. My husband John was one of the first speakers.
Do you swear to and affirm that everything, the evidence that you give is the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. First of all, I want to thank you for having us here in this arena. I believe that all of you are listening. Second of all, I was a trustee on the east side. I know how things come into play, and I know how all of we're only a half a dozen people here, or 2 dozen people, 3 dozen people. We're not enough people. We haven't filled up a high school gymnasium. My home also is going to be 100 years old in 5 years. I have done every form of improvement. You can't imagine how beautiful it is. After 1 year here, we had a fire. And the fire department chief said, I always wanted to see this beautiful house. I always wanted to see it. Thankfully, it didn't cause any damage. So why can't, if all the people, seniors that have left before us in Tinley Park, they wanted that to be a beautiful space. I understand Harmony Square. That's for all the residents and their friends. But a 5-story, what do you call it, track housing? That's like putting strip malls wherever there's space. They don't do that. For what kind of money are you going to achieve when this is not a desirable neighborhood anymore? It's not an old town neighborhood anymore. That facade you have there, as it was said, 171st and LaGrange. Not in a community. Would you want it? Can I sell you my house after you put up 162 townhouses a block from me? Will you come and give me the value for my house? Or do you want all the congestion? That's it. I'm more worried about the children that go to Fulton School. You're putting just too many people. Can you tell me what is this? What is the acreage of middle school where you're going to put 162? What's the full acreage amount? It's obscene what is going on here. The elders from Tinley would be so disappointed. They would never let this pass. Not what it looks like. I understand you want development. That I'm not against the development, but make it something that's comparable to Harmony Square, where more people can benefit, as opposed to put them in like little rats in 700 square foot apartment. 800, 1,500. That's not enough. And then you're making them 3 bedrooms, so they're gonna have kids there and pets there. What are you doing? We're not in the city of Chicago. We're gonna look like the city of Chicago. We're gonna have more crime because you're right next to the train station. They can get off and get on and get out. And what are we gonna do? We're gonna have to move. So I totally, and I'm sure everyone in this room, if I went one by one, do you want a 5-story building in a residential area?
No.
No. Do you want another 160 people plus?
No.
No. Please, listen to us.
Can I ask, have you noticed any difference with the boulevard being built?
With the boulevard,
Yeah.
which is 3 blocks away, have I noticed? I've noticed that all the commercial on the bottom floor is not
Well, I
filled.
noticed that too, but have you noticed more crime since that's been built, or there's more people gathering in areas?
Yes,
that I have not?
yes, yes, there's data on that.
There is.
Yes. Yes, and if you look into that data, you will find that data. The police chief will know. So please, listen to our concerns. We're not against Harmony Square. 100%, we thank you for that. That's for all the residents. Make our lives and the residents, all the residents. That's why I'm speaking today. I was a trustee. I had a voice for the people that didn't speak in government. Please continue what Tinley Park needs and wants. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
And I'll just say, to answer your question, it's a little under 3 acres for the townhome portion of it, and it's about 0.6 acres for the mixed-use portion.
3 acres, okay. So do you have data that it's profitable, that profitable to put all those, can you foresee them being, are they gonna be sold?
You can ask the petitioner that. I'm not the
Okay.
petitioner, so
Okay.
they can
Thank you.
answer.
But thank you for the answer. 3 point what?
It's around 3 acres for the
Okay.
townhome portion and about 0.6.
Thank you. Thank you. It needs, and there were, one more thing, there were a lot of variances up there. And variances mean that the ordinance that have been passed by the village are subject to change. And they're not defined descriptively with clarity.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Hi,
Yeah, your name?
I'm Sarah Nolan.
Hi, Sarah Nolan. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm just here because I think I'm the oldest. We've been in our house 51 years on 67th Court. I raised 4 kids. They went to the school district here in this area, and now they're all left and on their own. But I want to ask you, invite you, if you have never been in the area of Central Middle School, I want you to come, just drive over, park your car, and walk that rectangle. And you'll see, when you think back about this picture up here, how are you going to fit all those? And I don't mean to slam you guys, because I know you work hard and you've done your homework, but please, I'm inviting you to this area. Walk that rectangle, and in your mind, picture this picture in your mind. It doesn't fit. It does not fit our area. I've been there almost 51 years of my life. Please come. I'll even give you a lemonade or an iced tea. I want you to walk it and picture it in your mind. It's too much. I know that there was something going to go there. I worked at Central for 20 years. I worked right in that property. I walked from my house a half a block to work, which was wonderful. But I do it. That's where my walk is every night. You can't put all those buildings in that area. It just does not belong. Please come, I'm inviting you, please, please, okay?
Thank you, Sarah.
Anyone else from the audience want to speak?
Hello, my name is Jack Coyle.
Hi, Jack. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, thank you. First, I'd like to say thank you for your effort and your time tonight. I just have a couple quick comments to kind of reiterate what people, my neighbors said before. The big thing I would say is about density. If you take into account this development, the development by Panduit, the development that's supposed to go through next to South Street, the South Street development next to the station, that's just a lot of development. And if you look at that, the map, the two main roads that feed this are Oak Park Avenue and Oak Forest Avenue, that are 2-lane roads. I'm not sure, so if you take in that account, try to imagine, what I say is that I'd like to second Lisa's request for a traffic study, because I'm not sure, if you just imagine this on a Saturday, even on a weekday, all the residents there and the new residents, how would they get around that area? It just seems very tight. Second thing is, as far as parking, I know that the metro station is pretty large, but I'd like to consider that there are only 2 ways in and out of that parking lot off the same road. So it's gonna be hard to get in, if you want to use that for events. It's probably pretty hard to get in and out of there at the same time with 2 inches off the same road that border that new park. So I think you should, again, I reiterate about the traffic issues. The third thing I'd like to ask about, maybe to consider, is a consideration besides parking, to check the question about drainage. I was looking the other day at the FEMA map about flood zones. We're near that creek. I think that zone is AE, I think. Now, it just borders that creek only. But where would the drainage go for the water that was going to that park before? Something to consider. That's a lot of grass that will be gone when the new buildings go in there.
So that I can at least answer, that's going to the pond that's over by the original Panduit,
Okay.
the Freedom Pond. So for both of these sites, as well as South Street and the majority of the sites that could get developed in downtown, that's why that pond was developed down there. So that way you didn't have, as downtown development came in, you wouldn't have to put detention ponds throughout the downtown, which is what would have had to happen alternative to that. But all the detention from this will be going to that pond, and there is the connection underground to that. They will still have to do like volume control requirements, so like the original rainfall has to be kept on the site here. But all of the stormwater has to be taken off-site. So none of it can go sheet drain to any of the neighboring properties.
How do you keep the rain on site, though, you said? Forgive me, I'm not sure if you understand that.
Grading, like grading, and where they put stormwater inlets, things like that. So any stormwater that's coming on the site now will be directed off-site.
Okay.
Through the stormwater system.
Okay. The last thing I'd say, as far as street parking, to what Chuck said, all those roads that are around there are 2-lane maybe. Even now, if you park I'm on 67th Court, if you were to park on cars on both sides, if you were, which you don't right now, you couldn't get through, you might get 1 car through. So just consider again, to reiterate what was said before, the traffic flow around there is just so tight, I'd like you to really do the traffic study and just can take into account that. Given that Harmony Square is supposed to have, I think, in a given year, the plan was to have 200 events a year, I thought, as a draw to downtown, which is fantastic. There's more people, which is great, but you're gonna have more people down there than we're used to. And if it's 200 events a year, or give or take, that's great for the village. It's just that I'd like to again reiterate, take into account what happens on a full day when everyone's down enjoying the great park, but it really would get pretty crowded with that kind of development. It just seems like you said yourself, I think, it just seems very dense. So, thank you for your time.
Well, so we could pass on obviously the parking study density isn't up for a request here, so the height, the number of units is not part of any of the requests that are before us today. Those are permitted. But in terms of a traffic study, that is something that we can obviously pass along if the village board or the village wants to take that on and go, where is traffic, how are the roads improved, where should additional parking be, things like that. We can pass that along to the village board, who, if they want to, they can undertake that.
Okay.
So,
Hi, my name's Catherine Poplinski.
Hi, Catherine. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I'd like to thank you for having us here today. Also, I would like to agree with all of my fellow neighbors here. The density is, it's a lot of people. And I live in the townhomes on 67th Court there. So there's no street parking in front of me. And then right in front of us, there's like, I live on the west side, so there's no parking. And then right in front of us, where the dog park is, they have like vertical parking that everybody uses now. So I guess my question, and it might be even directly towards you, is there going to be any street parking on 67th Court? I saw that there's 21 spaces on 67th Avenue. Are those public spaces? Like, where are my friends and family supposed to park when they come? So I don't know.
yeah, that street parking will be public spaces that
But-
anybody can park.
But are there some on my side of the street too, on 67th Court, or only 21? 21 seems ridiculously small if you have 63 townhomes.
You're saying the west side of 67th Court, is there parking there?
Yes.
I was gonna say it's mostly driveways with the way that's set up, so I don't, there's the subway parking lot, but I don't think you'd get any parking on the west side of that.
No, I live on the west side. I'm wondering if there'd be parking on the east side of 67th Court.
Yes, there is, and that's.
For me.
Anyone, it's public parking.
Okay. Because I think of like,
No cars will get through.
what's where they park now? So I guess with the rendering, it looks like there's not parking spaces on 67th Court, but there's 21 spaces on 67th Avenue. So I want to know where my family's going to park, by the dog park, or a little north of the dog park. Private dog park.
Yeah,
There
so
are
the-
parallel spaces surrounding the development on both streets. They're parallel spaces, not angled spaces, parallel spaces.
So there's 21 on 67th Court and
Total.
21?
Total.
Total. So for the 63 people that live in the townhomes who want to have people over on the same day that I want to, when we want to go see the Harmony Square, when they have the great music in the park nights, for the, every Tuesday with the car show nights, I just don't know where, like, the rest of us are going to park, I guess. So I just wanted to mention it because, like, downtown LaGrange has a beautiful parking structure that's open and free for everyone. You're saying you might be putting paid parking in for the Metro. I know that's probably for the people that are using the Metro, but that's still, it's a deterrent if we have to then pay for parking to go to all the free, wonderful events that you are lovely put on for us. So I guess I just wanted to ask that. I couldn't tell with the rendering, so, thank you.
I don't have the exact number, but there is on-street parking on both 67th Court and 67th Avenue.
Okay.
On-street public parking.
Okay, just checking.
And I get the Metro stuff, the majority of those large events are weekend events, so the parking lot's free that entire time anyways.
But then, like, the car show's on Tuesday, or, yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Gano, Pat Carr, Village Manager. Could I request that we take a brief recess that I could speak with you and Dan
Sure,
real quick? Thank you.
sure. Dan, do I need to do anything to the?
I think you guys, do they have to make a motion? Yeah, just make a motion for,
Can you make a
if you
motion
wanna do
to
like
take
a,
brief recess for 15 minutes?
I'll second.
It's 5 minutes.
5 minutes, good? Okay, so how about we just say 10, 15 after, 10 after, 9?
Quarter after 9.
Quarter after 9?
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go. Second. Me. I second the motion, yeah.
Do a voice vote.
Oh, sorry, voice vote.
Aye. For the recess. Aye for the recess.
Ask for a motion for a recess.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for a recess.
Actually, one of us, I think,
Second.
has to do
Someone
it.
needs-
you-
oh,
I'll make a motion, we take a 5 or 10-minute recess.
Okay. And then
Second.
second by Charles.
Second.
And then ask for a voice vote.
Voice vote.
I'll say yay.
I'll say aye.
Aye.
Sorry. residents that would like to speak
What's up?
at this time?
A different company name then, 'cause I don't remember that.
Hi, sir. Your name?
Dan Murphy.
Hi, Dan. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm with everybody else with the congestion, and I moved in here 8 years ago. It was an empty lot. I didn't know this day would come, but can you do something? My concern is just the townhouses. They can build the Harmony Square, that's fine, you know what I mean? But I think with the townhouses, it's just too much. And I don't know where everybody's gonna park and the traffic, and why don't we compromise, do the Harmony Square part and do the townhouses later or something? I know, is that kind of what's happening, but we'll see how that works out before you do the townhouses too. Is there any room for compromise, or? I mean, can we, you have a little something, we'll have, you know what's cool about the field? People park there, there's never any issues. People sometimes leave the car overnight, you know, and they might have had too many drinks, and there's never any issues, and it's free. So I think that's why a lot of people go to the music in the plaza, and it works out, and there's never any issues. So I just think that we should hold off on the townhouses. All right? That's all I gotta say. And the carport, that's kind of ugly, but I haven't heard about it in an hour, so that's cool.
Is there still time for comment?
Yeah, go ahead and sign in. What's your name?
Lauren Gallagher.
Hi, Lauren. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. So I have not lived here as long as many of our other commenters. I've been here for about 3 years. I live on 67th Avenue, but I share the same concerns with a lot of my peers about just the stature, the amount of people is definitely a little bit concerning. I also knew that this day would come. I mean, as soon as I moved in, I was kind of like, wow, they've got this plot of land. I wonder what they'll do with it. I didn't expect it to be this large, though, on, you know, a scale this large. I agree with what, and that was my exact sentiment about compromise or delaying things. You know, already got the townhomes that are being built on Oak Forest as well. It's kind of like, I wonder if the village should slow down a little bit and maybe see how some of these other developments go first. See if we can get some businesses in Boulevard on Central Station first. You know, maybe slow things down, rethink it, and not go so big all the way, because you know, and I'm truly in favor of maybe a little bit more of an urban environment. I definitely understand that there are people here that may work in the city, commute. I absolutely love living near the train. It's one of my favorite things. But also one of my favorite things, my partner and I, my fiance, our favorite thing to do is watch the sunset from our porch. And we wouldn't be able to do that anymore, which I know is not a reason to stall an entire project. But maybe shorten the roofs, maybe not 5 stories, you know. But I agree with the last commenter that, you know, maybe some sort of compromise is in order before we go too far with this. So yeah, I think that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience like to speak? Seeing none. I think it's a good idea that we table this. The commission, I think, agrees with me. We table this to go back to the village board to discuss the traffic study and some congestion and all of your concerns that you've raised this evening. We completely understand where you're coming from. So if someone on the commission would like to make a motion.
I make a motion, we table this to.
It'll be to continue it. Do we want to we got to pick a date, right?
Yes.
So, if you want to do the next meeting, we can do that, or jump two.
Well, I think,
But we can have one to at least discuss it and come back to you at that point.
I think we need to get all our ducks in a row and get everything done that we need to get done, not just a traffic study, but whatever else came up tonight needs to be looked into before we go any further.
Yep. And we'll, yeah, so here in Angela and you guys will work with the developer and we're gonna continue this, come back and, hopefully with the traffic, congestion thing, everything that's come up today, we'll be able to give you more information when that meeting comes up. I guess I would, for now, since we don't really know, I would continue it to the next meeting. So- Is it the? 21st. Yeah, September 21st. I don't know if everything's gonna be solved by then, but in that meeting, we'll bring to you a status or an update at that point as well.
Okay, fair enough.
So it'd be a motion to continue to September 21st.
Okay, make a motion, we table this until September 21st.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Gaskell, seconded by Commissioner Sepisi. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we need to take a vote? Do we need to take a vote on it? Yes, okay.
Roll call.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Gaskell,
Absolutely, yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Manny,
Yes.
Commissioner Sepsi,
Yes.
Commissioner Truxell,
Yes.
Acting Chair Gatto.
Yes,
The motion is continued to September 21st.
thank you.
Rest assured, we're all gonna be here again, right?
Good.
And bring a neighbor, bring someone else. This is not right.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Staff, do you have something that you want to go through?
Just a couple updates. I know what was approved at the last meeting. Oak Park Towns, Brixmore was just approved at the village board, so phase 2 of the Brixmore Tinley Park Plaza, as well as the gas and wash was just approved at the village board. Drip Drop Smokes as well, were the 3 that went to the village board last. So, those were forwarded there and approved. Besides that, I think that's all I have. What's that? Oh, and Kayla West was appointed at the last village board meeting as well. She couldn't make this one, but she'll be on the board going forward, so.
May I have a motion to close the meeting?
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Made by Commissioner Gaskell, seconded by Commissioner Truxell.
It's Terry.
Aye.
The meeting is closed.